I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
And this is Casimir Pulaski Day by an individual named Sufjan Stevens.
That doesn't mean that this is going to be played all day. Because usually
it might be.
No, usually we're like, this is Thrice Day, where there's going to be like a bunch of them.
No, Casimir Pulaski Day is the name of the person. But, I mean, we might play it all day because the last two videos that we've done have been blocked. Oh what's the name of that song?
No, I thought we had three. We had the and then we also had the obituary.
The obituary. One. Obituary got blocked.
Chris Stapleton, Sometimes I Cry, got partially blocked.
Really?
Enslaved, Roots of the Mountain got partially blocked. Corrosion of Conformity, In the Arms of God, partially blocked. We've had so much blocking.
We're getting worked here. So
I'm like, man, I wonder if something's happening.
Well, I mean, Bob Dylan always gets blocked.
Yeah, but those other ones? And it's crazy too, you guys. So I put up the video, I deleted the sound so there's no overlaid nice sound. It's literally only the sound coming from our headphones and they still block it.
Yeah.
To mute the whole thing. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like that's too far, like.
Anyway, Sufjan Stevens, we're always going to play the song beginning to end. We're never going to break it up. So it is what it is. But this one I'm sure will not get blocked because we've also had a bunch of songs that have not got blocked this week. So.
And this is for Jacob, so shout out to him.
This is for Jacob. For timely topical political commentary, you can hit us up at Middle America with Vin and Sori. Also, we're on a atheist channel. It's an up and coming atheist channel called the Empathetic Atheist, and it's a really good format.
Yeah, it was cool. I had no idea what it was. You were like, hey, you want to come on this thing? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, there was some strident disagreement, but it wasn't any of this ad hominem.
No.
Oh, you believe in your God, Daddy?
Yeah.
You know, dumbness. It was a really, but it was also, it wasn't, you know, kumbaya either. We had significant disagreements.
I think it was a good conversation.
We're gonna go again after this and do an after party for a little bit. Anyway, Casimir Pulaski Day. Let's go.
Here we go.
Goldenrod and the 4-H stone, the things I brought you when I found out you had cancer of the bone. Your father cried on the telephone, and he drove his car into the Navy Yard just to prove that he was sorry. In the morning, through the window shade, when the light pressed up against your shoulder blade, I could see what you were reading. All the glory that the Lord has made, and the complications you could do without, when I kissed you on the mouth.
Too complicated.
How mean.
Please stop doing that.
I just realized after I did it, I'm like, no.
Tuesday night at the Bible study, we lift our hands and pray over your body, but nothing ever happens. I remember at Michael's house in the living room when you kissed my neck and I almost touched your blouse. In the morning at the top of the stairs when your father found out what we did that night and you told me you were scared. All the glory when you ran outside with your shirt tucked in and your shoes untied, and you told me not to follow you. Sunday night, when I clean the house, I find the card where you wrote it out with the pictures of your mother. On the floor at the Great Divide, with my shirt tucked in and my shoes untied, I am crying in the bathroom. In the morning, when you finally go, and the nurse runs in with her head hung low, and the car meets the window. In the morning, in the winter shade, on the 1st of March, on the holiday, I thought I saw you breathing. All the glory that the Lord has made, and the complications when I see his face in the morning in the window. All the glory when he took our place, but he took my shoulders and he shook my face, and he takes and he takes and he takes.
Well, that was, I gotta say, that was very beautiful sounding. But it had, the content was sad, but I liked the sound of it.
I really enjoyed the sound. It was very whimsical
Yeah.
and innocent,
Yeah.
but not innocent.
Right.
And definitely, obviously, some religious undertones there, whatever you want to say.
Yeah, I got that too.
Oh, look.
It,
I was a teenager. This was my first experience with death. At that age, you're really confused. You're easily confused. I couldn't understand why she had to die. Experiences like this always cause doubt because we don't cope with the idea of evil in this world. Then you doubt the existence of God and his intentions. Actually, everything. But that's good. One of the foundations of faith is a lack of it. The disbelief. It's very important. Firm belief is a bit unreal. Firm belief is a bit unreal. That leads to religious fanaticism. Doubt is inseparable from Christianity. With every figure in the Bible you find doubt. Abraham, Moses, all the kings and the apostles, even Jesus doubted. I'm not really sure about that. So isn't it funny how religions, especially Christian institutions in the U.S., have eliminated all doubt? They don't understand how important it is to doubt with all of its consequences. I agree with like 98% of what this guy said. That's really, really true. And I think, like, if you get at the end of the song, it almost sounds resentful, but it still was beautiful to me. All the glory when he took our place.
Yeah.
But he took my shoulders and he shook my face, and he takes and he takes and he takes.
Yeah.
You know, like,
yeah.
that's like half of the Jobian expression, the Lord gives and the Lord takes away, blessed be the name of the Lord. But in that moment, all he could see was that God took something from him.
Yeah.
But if God is really real, then everything we have has been given to us.
By him.
Right? So,
Yeah.
you know, it's one of those things. But when you're in the throes of that, especially as a teenager, forget it.
Oh, he said it happened when he was a teenager?
Yeah. You know what's interesting?
Interesting.
I really didn't have like a Christian relationship with God throughout my teenage years at all. There was a lot of like rebellion and me trying to get away from the church and get away from God. So like I didn't, you know, the latter part of 18 is when I got, you know, had God, you know, had my relationship with God for myself. But so I don't even know really what it's like to be a Christian teenager in the traditional sense, like going to Bible studies and all that. Like, so I don't really have that experience, but you do. So
Yeah, but I don't understand what you mean. Like, what about it? You mean having that experience and losing someone? Or
I just
what do you
didn't
mean?
experience like a traditional relationship with God through my teenage years. Because I wasn't going to church, I wasn't praying, I wasn't reading my Bible, I wasn't, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I had that throughout my teens.
You had that throughout your teens.
Yeah, it was definitely a part of it. But it was also, now that I look back, I couldn't really separate God from church and from religious people and from mindsets and institutions. It was all grouped together. And so, even though I believed that people were sinners, like, anytime I did something bad, I felt like such a horrible person. And now I look back and I'm like, man, it was basic teenage stuff, and I wasn't even really doing that much of it. So it's like, but I walked around with like so much guilt, like I was the worst person on the face of the planet. So God in my teen years was good in some senses, but then in other senses, like I said, because I couldn't make the separation of what was God and what was other people. But I'm not sure where you were trying to go with that.
I wasn't trying to go anywhere. I was just saying, like, that experience of Christianity I didn't really have.
I will say though that, so we didn't have music, we weren't allowed to listen to music, and then eventually we were allowed to listen to some music, but it had to be Christian music, but it couldn't be any Christian music. Like, the Christian music that we review on this channel would have been out. Like, there's no way in the world. But like, sometimes I'm sad about that because, like, I hear your experiences and other people's experiences on the channel and how music was able to help them get through stuff. But because I didn't have that as an option, really, it was prayer and, like, making up worship songs or stuff like that. And that actually really helped me a lot. So, like, sometimes I look at that experience and I'm like, well, that was so negative. Like, I could have used some Slipknot back in the day. But at the same time, I'm like, well, I'm actually glad because I had some really, really significant and special times because I didn't have anything else. So...
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
And I didn't feel like I was missing out on something because once I became a teenager and I was driving in my own car, then I could pick my own music, and I didn't find, you know, I really think I would have liked Slipknot, but I didn't have music like that. So it was like hip hop and it was country, and nothing really dealt with the ways that I was feeling, except for if it was talking about being in love or stuff. I was always a fan of that. Relationship songs.
I could definitely tell, like, this was written from the perspective of a teenager. Just the way that...
Yeah, but when it said that he brought the goldenrod and the 4-H stone...
Yeah?
The things I brought when I found out you had cancer of the bone, that to me sounded like a kid.
Yeah.
Not a teenager, a kid.
Yeah, but Dorian is a teenager, but he has those moments when he's like...
Yeah, but
like
I don't feel like Dorian is typical.
He's typical.
No.
Okay.
I don't believe that.
All right. But
I mean, how many teenagers were you around that were like that?
Lots of them.
Really?
Dorian's a run-of-the-mill teenage boy.
Maybe it's your culture. I wasn't around anybody that was like Or maybe they showed that softness with their parents. Like, we didn't... Everybody had to just grow up.
I mean, what softness? What are you talking about?
Like a goldenrod and a 4-H stone?
Yeah, what about it? You don't think a teenage boy would buy that for his girlfriend or his...
What's a 4-H stone?
His
I assume that it's...
significant other?
What is a 4-H stone? I mean, I was thinking about 4-H. Like that little club that you join.
Yeah.
Why? But I don't know what a 4-H stone is.
Okay.
Oh, okay. It probably was for good luck. Because it's a 4-leaf clover with the 4 H's on it, so that's probably why he brought that.
Yeah, but what does that have to do with being a teenager? I don't understand.
Because like a little kid would like a little kid would bring you a rock. You know what I mean? Like if I tell you have cancer and he brings you a rock, you know what I mean? That sounds like something a little kid would do.
I just think people revert back to that in situations where they have an insurmountable problem. Pretty much anything you do in the face of cancer, aside from chemo, is a childish thing, right? I mean, it's one of the ugliest things in the world, man. It really is. Your father cried on the telephone. He drove his car into the Navy Yard just to prove that he was sorry.
That didn't make sense to me.
Well, I think that was probably some very specific situation that happened. You know, the things that happen between fathers and daughters and all the stuff that gets unsaid or whatever, so I'm sure that she knew what it meant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's important to seal those things up before when you can't. So, in the morning through the window shade when the light pressed up against your shoulder. This guy's a really good writer. I like guys that can like really like set the like I felt like I was there. You know what I mean?
Oh, me too.
I could see what you were reading. All the glory that the Lord has made and the complications you could do without when I kissed you on the mouth.
What about that part?
It's just, you know, the whole way of a man with a maiden thing and like, you know, like kissing someone and you're like, do I not do
Oh,
it?
yeah.
The awkwardness.
Yeah.
And, I remember I was at summer camp one time, this girl, you know, it's like, I don't know. I didn't have a lot of those moments because, you know, everybody's like 5 years older in New York City, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like if I would have been able to like grow up in Florida, I feel like I would have been a completely different person instead of coming to New York.
Bad.
You know what I mean? Like, I think things would have been a lot different. But, you know, I always loved that part of like the relationship, like the beginning and the, you know. But of course, you know, I don't know. It's one of the things where I look at how sexualized kids are these days, and it's just like, man. And it's like, it's not the religious aspect of it. It's just you remember the movie My Girl? It was like Thomas J. and then his girl, and they were friends.
I don't remember. Yeah.
And you know, like, and they were, you know, like the kiss was like this big thing. I used to watch this show, The Wonder Years, and he had Winnie Cooper. And I was like, oh, I want a Winnie Cooper. You know what I mean? Like that, like whimsical, innocent thing. Like I feel like is completely gone from kids, man. And I think it's sad. I think it's like. Sometimes I sit back, I'm like, I think we're the last generation that kind of had that. You know, I think that's probably dead now because of the ubiquitous nature of social media and all the other shit. And, you know, it's like I said with violence, like we're all probably traumatized and there's probably going to be some report, you know, in 30 years that talks about how all of us are collectively traumatized people. And I just think it's
yeah, but you
we're
think that with
also
like our
hypersexualized
kids?
too.
Our kids are not. Like,
yeah, I think they have knowledge of things that they don't talk about a lot, but you know they have knowledge about things that we didn't, and just because again it's the ubiquitous nature of the internet.
I don't,
I don't, you know, But who knows? Like a kid like Johan, like I definitely think he's gonna have that like, oh, should I kiss her?
Yeah.
You know, nervous whimsy. So maybe that'll never go away.
I mean, I know Salo. I think she wants to be kissed.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I'm sure. I mean, she's your daughter. So there's that.
Yes. Then kiss me.
Tuesday night at the Bible study, this was we lift our hands in prayer over your body, nothing ever happens.
Ugh.
You know, like that, I love the realness of that line. And it's because, like, I've been on both sides of that.
I know.
You know, I've been on the side of, like, praying for somebody, and then a ridiculous miracle happens, and it's like, undeniable, holy shit. Yeah. And then I've also, you know, I'm not going to share that story because it's somebody in the channel, but people, it's hard, man. The whole prayer thing is hard. It's actually the show that I was listening to, that we were on, the Empathetic Atheist show. The guy was talking about how he used to be a Christian, but he was diagnosed with major depression, and major depression's a hell of a thing. That's what I'm diagnosed with. You know, bipolar disorder this is going to be horrible, but you can have. You can ride the wave. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, when my mom had bipolar, man, I'll tell you what. When she was on the wave, she was like the most fun person to be around. You know? And you knew after a while, like, oh. But, like, major depression is like, like, it's like. So, and then it doesn't get talked about a lot because bipolar they're so volatile and they end up, you know. But he was talking about how he had major depression and how.
Yeah, I tried to look up stuff on it and I couldn't really find a lot of stuff.
Because it's sort of just a generalized, you're depressed, you feel bad, and there's not really it's just. So he was talking about how, you know, he came up with a Christian background or whatever, and he would pray, and it didn't leave him. He didn't, you know. He was just dealing with his darkness, and then he eventually, like, had to, you know, whatever. He basically left Christianity because of that or whatever. And somebody had asked him, like, are you, did you, like, feel better after you became an atheist? And the guy was like, well, no, because, you know, at least when I was a Christian, I could think about the afterlife or whatever. So it actually made him worse, and then
Jeez.
But then it was like, well, you know, he wasn't taking medications, I guess, because faith or whatever, but he later on he started taking them and it really didn't help him.
I hear that from so many people.
Well, it would be careful. Like, I think if you have severe major depression, then you know, unless they turn you into a complete zombie, you know, it's a hard road to. And that's why, like, I don't talk a lot about, you know, me as far as. You know, I had an experience with God or whatever in my major depression, but I don't talk about it a lot because for that reason. Like, one, I don't want people to go, oh, okay, so if I had faith like Vin, then, because it wasn't a faith thing. Like, this is one of those things where God completely imposed himself onto the situation. So it wasn't a faith thing where it was like, you know what I mean? It was, you know, so there's that, and then it's also dangerous. You know, what I did, you know, was. I basically threw out all my meds and didn't fill a prescription, which
not
is like the number one thing that you should not do.
Walk it out with your doctor.
Right. And it just so happened that, you know, I was able to live in the world in such a way as to never get to the point where I was ever any danger or whatever. But that doesn't mean like I'm not healed from major depression. You know what I mean? So I don't like talking about it a lot because it's there's so much nuance to it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that was a tough line, man. Nothing ever happens. You know?
For me, when I heard that line, I was thinking, you know, my uncle, we prayed, and like seriously, so many people believed he was going to be healed. Yeah. And it was cancer. It took him, you know? And it was like weird because like I thought that because all these people that were like in my mind more spiritual than me or older than me like was saying that he was going to survive it, that God was going to heal him, blah blah blah. And then he didn't, so it was a little bit confusing. And then you know, I'm not the type of person that like has like unbelievable faith that God is just gonna fix every problem, and you know. And I remember that I was walking and someone knew that I was a Christian, and they came up to me and they said, I am having like this excruciating pain in my mouth, and like it doesn't stop ever, and I don't have insurance, and blah blah blah. And they were like, I don't know, can you, I've heard that you could like maybe pray over it. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, why am I in this situation? Because I didn't think that anything was gonna really change, but I was like, well, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna tell the person? No, I'm not gonna pray over you. So I just prayed for the person, and like as soon as I finished praying, they were like, it feels better. But I was thinking, yeah, right. It's like psychosoma. Like I just prayed so it feels better, but wait till you leave and the rest of the day and you go to bed tonight and stuff. Like weeks went by and the person came to me again. They were like, my tooth hasn't hurt ever since you prayed for it. I was like, yeah. I'd like to say I was like, I knew it. You know, God is so good.
I remember thinking that was more for you than for her.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Really interesting stuff. So, yeah, I really, and then of course, like they're like friends, but they're not really. It looks like they went all the way in the morning at the top of your stair. Your father found out what we did that night. You told me you were scared. You know, like
I didn't see that. Was that part of it?
Yeah, you didn't see it in the morning at the top of the stairs when your father found out what we did that night, and you told me you were scared.
Oh, I didn't see that first.
All the glory when you ran outside, your shirt tucked in and your shoes untied.
Aww.
Yeah. It seemed like a completely pure, beautiful, innocent, not so innocent friendship.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a good song. It's a good song. Shout out to the big homie. What did you get the song?
It was a 9.9 for me.
A 9.8 for me. Very, very good song. Beautiful stuff. Love is love, y'all. Vin out.
Sorry out.
Gone.
Goldenrod and the 4-H stone, the things I brought you when I found out you had cancer of the bone. Your father cried on the telephone, and he drove his car into the Navy Yard just to prove that he was sorry. In the morning, through the window shade, when the light pressed up against your shoulder blade, I could see what you were reading. All the glory that the Lord has made, and the complications you could do without, when I kissed you on the mouth. Tuesday night at the Bible study, we lift our hands and pray over your body, but nothing ever happens. I remember at Michael's house in the living room when you kissed my neck and I almost touched your blouse. In the morning at the top of the stairs, when your father found out what we did that night,